and welcome back to Race Recap. My name is Jackson. This past weekend we had the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series racing at Phoenix. Now this is a pretty important race because this is where the championship will be held later on in November for all three series, so you want to get it right here. Also, I don't usually do this, but I want to throw up a bit of a track description for Phoenix. It's such an interesting track. Is it a short track? Is it a mile-and-a-half track? It's hard to say because it's under a mile and a half and it has a dog leg in it. It's not seen here, but actually all throughout here, that is racing surface, 160 feet of it at the front straightaway. So that causes 5 and 6 wide restarts, which is really fun to watch as a racing fan. Now you'll see the start-finish line is actually in the middle of the dog leg. It used to be a while back, right in the middle of what is now the back straightaway. So that's a little bit of a track description and history of Phoenix Motor Speedway. Now, the Xfinity Series, they ran 200 laps at Phoenix, an uneventful race, pretty, for the early caution season they had in the Xfinity Series. Now, the first caution, though, was brought out early on when the 98 of Riley Herbst had something go wrong in the car, and he spun around and hit hard into the outside wall, driver's side. He was okay, but was a little shaken up, but his car was done. And the second caution was the Stage 1 winner of Trevor Bayne in the 18 car. Glad to see Trevor back in the car. He's actually going to be here a couple more times throughout the Xfinity season. And then the third caution was on that restart in the end of Stage 1 when the 54 of Ty Gibbs spun around after then that turn 1 funnel corner, actually, after some contact with the 8 of Josh Berry. And now the fourth and final caution was brought out at the end of Stage 2, which went to the 9 of Noah Gragson. And the checker flags in this race went to the 9 of Noah Gragson. Now, top 10 here were Noah Gragson, Brandon Jones, Josh Berry, Trevor Bayne, John Hunter Nemechek, Ty Gibbs, AJ Allmendinger, Daniel Hemrick, and Landon Castle, and Justin Allgaier rounded out top 10. DNFs in this race, the 78 of Josh Williams had ignition problems. The 38 of Parker Redsloff, I want to give a shout out to Parker. This is actually his first career Xfinity Series start. We saw him last year a little bit in the 42 for the ARCA Menard Series, but he qualified 6th in the whole field, which is really good for a rookie debut. And actually, unfortunately, he got mired back in the pack and was out with fuel pump issues. And then Riley Herbst in the 98 was out for that accident. Now, the next day, the Cup Series ran at Phoenix, 312 laps. The first caution was a competition caution. The second caution was when the 7 of Corey LaJoie had something go wrong with the right front. It kind of looked like the lug nut actually came off, which caused his wheel to go real bad loose, and he ended up hard in the outside wall. As we know with the new next-gen car, it's just one lug nut holding this wheel in, which makes her a pretty fast pit stop. And then the third caution was the Stage 1 winner, William Byron. The fourth caution was when the 20 of Christopher Bell spun exiting turn 2. The fifth caution was for the Stage 2 winner of Ryan Blaney. The sixth caution was when the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. appeared to have a right front go down, and he hit hard into the turn 2 outside wall and spun back down the back straightaway, but was not hit by anyone else. And then the seventh caution happened when the 43 of Eric Jones spun in that same place down the back straightaway where Truex Jr. spun, and this time made a little bit of contact with the inside wall, but was able to continue. And then the eighth caution, which led this race into a not overtime finish, but it was a pretty late race dash, about 4 or 5 laps. What happened when the 9 of Chase Elliott went sliding. And then actually on the last lap in turn 4, the 99 of Daniel Suarez made contact with the 3 of Austin Dillon, and Dillon spun and backed it hard into the outside wall, and was not able to get back to the line. So he did finish outside of the top 20, but was still on the lead lap. And then the checker flags in this race, how about this? Went to the 14 of Chase Briscoe in the Stewart-Haas car. Now that's really good to see him getting his first career Cup Series win. So the top 10 here were Chase Briscoe, Ross Chastain, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Daniel Suarez, and Chris Buescher running out top 10. DNFs in this race, Austin Dillon was out for the accident. Kyle Larson in the 5 had a valve spring issue and he was out with the engine problem. Martin Truex Jr. was out for the accident, along with the 7 of Corey LaJoie. And before we end today, I have a little bit of news coming in. So actually, I said last video it was Antonio Giovinazzi taking over for Nikita Mazepin in the Haas car, but it's actually going to be Kevin Magnussen, who raced here at Haas in 2020 and 2 years before that. So I'm really glad to see K-Mag back in the car. And you might not know this since it's IMSA as a new series that we recap, but Magnussen also races in the 02 Cadillac car, DPI actually that is, and for IMSA. So he will not be able to compete that weekend. And the Swiss driver that is actually, Neil Janney. Glad to see him. He's going to get to start and the 0-2 because Kevin Magnussen will be in Bahrain for an F1 race. It's actually the first race in the F1 season. Now, before we end today, once again, J.R. Hildebrand, you may know him from racing in the Indy 500 a lot. He's actually going to run every oval race this year in the number 11 AJ Foyt Racing, where Titina Calderon will run that car on the street and road courses for IndyCar. And then, lastly, also in IndyCar, that number that I mentioned, we weren't sure where Ed Carpenter, what number he will be in that third car. It's looking like it's going to be the 33. Well, that's all for race recap. Come join us next weekend when we have a busy weekend. 7 of our 9 series will be racing. And for the trucks, Xfinity and Cup, they are all racing at the newly paved Atlanta Motor Speedway on their Super Speedway packages. So that should be interesting.